On episode 447 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we meet John Assaraf and discuss his book, Innercise. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/447. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. This episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is sponsored by Usual Wines. Some nights it's really nice to have a great glass of wine, but opening a bottle means drinking more than you wanted or pouring much of it out. Or maybe you're like my wife and I. She prefers sparkling while I like reds. That's okay if we're at a restaurant, but not when we're at home. Usual Wines has solved that problem. They make a red blend, a rosé, and a sparkling white wine brut. They also have a limited production brut rosé just for the summer. All available in single-serve 6.3 ounce bottles. And even better, they add no sugar or additives. These dry wines are low carb. That means zero sugar, lower in calories, and have none of the chemicals that cause some people problems. They make a truly clean wine with grapes from world-class American viticulture areas in California like Napa, Sonoma, and Santa Barbara. Check Usual Wines out at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/wine and use the discount code FITNESS for $8 off your first order. 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/wine and get $8 off with the discount code FITNESS. Enjoy. Did you know we have a group on Facebook? We sure do. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. With weekly challenges, motivational posts, and all kinds of other coolness. Come surround yourself with like-minded people. I'd love to connect with you on Facebook at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. Our guest today is one of the leading mindset and behavioral experts in the world. He's appeared numerous times on Larry King Live, Anderson Cooper, and The Ellen DeGeneres Show. He has built 5 multi-million-dollar companies, written 2 New York Times best-selling books, and been featured in 8 movies, including the blockbuster hit The Secret. Today, he's the founder and CEO of NeuroGym, a company dedicated to using the most advanced technologies and evidence-based brain training methods to help individuals and corporations unlock and ignite their fullest potential. With no further ado, here is John Assaraf. John, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Thanks, Alan. Great to be with you.
Now, I got your book, Innercise, The New Science to Unlock Your Brain's Hidden Power. And, I've read a lot of books, and I've read a lot of books about the brain and about neuroplasticity. This was probably the most practical book on neuroplasticity that I've ever read. It was not just the theory of, this is how the brain should work or should fire. This was set exercises for your brain that actually make this stuff happen. And you'd said in the book, don't do all of them at any sitting because it's too much. But I found myself as I was reading, trying to do them, and it was exhausting. When you got to the beach one, it's funny because that was just a meditation I started doing for myself to fall asleep. If I woke up and I was feeling anxiety, and I would just start imagining myself walking down a beach. And so it was interesting. You started going through that, and I was watching it, reading it, and I was like, oh goodness, I had to go take a nap. I was like, it's so relaxing and so awesome. So again, I really enjoyed the book. And then I went on to even go do your Brain-a-Thon that you had, which again was awesome. So thank you for that. I appreciate sharing that. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. The book Innercise was all around when I came to the realization that I have, and everybody who's with us today, has a $1 trillion brain, but we weren't given the user's manual for it. And everybody knows that, I could exercise to build up my cardiovascular system and to build up my lung capacity and to strengthen my muscles if I want to exercise. But what about our brain, the greatest neuromuscle and biocomputer in the whole universe? What are some techniques that we can use to get our brain to work better and to get us to focus more, to create empowering habits, to let go of stress or anxiety or uncertainty or fears that hold us back? What about that? And for many, many years, I've been practicing the mental and emotional techniques that I lay out in Innercise, and I actually give people the audio. Enjoyed it, and we'll have a great dialogue around it.
Perfect. So in the book, and I think this is where it clicked for me to understand this, is that, I work with a lot of clients and they're trying to lose weight and they're trying to get fit and they're trying to get healthy. And for some of them, it just seems so hard. And, they struggle and they struggle. And I'm like, I know you want this. I know you're committed to this, but it's not happening for you. And we've got to break that down. And you use this term cohesion and dissonance to kind of talk about one of those kind of things that holds us back that we're not even necessarily aware is happening. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So listen, we all develop our habits, right? We have habits that are the way we think on a regular basis. We have a habitual way of feeling. We have behaviors that lead to our results. So when we understand our brain just a little bit better, and we understand that every one of us is already 100% disciplined to our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, and our behaviors. And so changing is hard if you don't have the right process. So whenever we're looking to change, our eating patterns, whenever we're looking to change, how much activity we get in a day, whenever we're looking to change how much sleep we get, whenever we're looking to change our own self-image of ourselves, which is something we've had for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that requires understanding, how do I make change easier? Not easy, but easier. And this is where most people have an issue. It's not in the intention or the goal that's the problem. It's what happens after that that's the problem. And so when we understand that our brains all work identically, every human being's brain works identically. And our brain works on a couple of principles. So let me give you a couple of these principles. Number one is, anytime that our brain experiences a change in our behavior, a change in our diet, a change in our exercise, our brain goes, hey, what's going on? You're using energy. And our brain wants to conserve energy. So anything that is going to use up more energy, the way I think or behave, our brain's going to go, what's going on here? And it's going to resist. So that resistance is our brain wanting to move back into its comfort zone, right? Just like a thermostat is meant to keep a temperature in a room at a certain temperature that's set in the thermostat, our brain wants to have you keep the same settings. Your weight, your eating, your exercise, energy expenditure. That's one. Number two, whenever our brain feels that there might be real or potential pain or discomfort, it says, hold on a second here. I don't want to feel any pain or discomfort. Well, guess what? Changing our diet is considered uncomfortable to our brain. Starting to exercise, even though it feels good to do it, it also means we might have muscle soreness. It also means that we might have aches and pains, etc. So our brain is trying to resist anything that's going to cause us pain or discomfort, or having less than what we had before. So understanding that these are natural mechanisms of our brain, we can start saying, okay, are there some techniques that I can use to make this easier versus easy? And the answer is, yeah, there's a lot of techniques that we can use to pre-commit, to reframe things. So first thing that I share with people who want to lose weight, first and foremost, stop thinking of what you need to do as losing weight. As soon as our brain thinks of losing anything, it resists it. Why? We're always taught to find what we lose, find what you forget. So what if we instead said, okay, what do I really, really want? Is it weight that I want to lose, or is it fat that I want to release, right? So if we think about body weight as extra calories, extra energy, what we want to do is we want to release that energy and use it. But that's really not what we're looking to do. The reason we want to, I'm going to use a term that I don't like to use, is lose weight, is not for the losing the weight. It's for how we're going to feel about ourselves. It's for the love we're seeking. It's for the self-belief about ourselves that we want. It's for the lifestyle that we want. It's for the energy that we want. And so what if we, instead of focused on losing weight, we focused on what's the lifestyle that I want? What are the benefits of that lifestyle? Instead of focusing on what I'm going to have to give up, what am I here to gain by doing this? Instead of focusing on a diet, why not focusing on a new way of eating and a new way of being? The very fact that, the word diet, the first three letters are D-I-E, die, okay? Dieting is hard, but figuring out a meal plan, a way to eat that sustains me, that I could keep doing past 1 week or 3 weeks or 6 weeks, that's a totally different focus. Now, most people try to lose weight, and they say, okay, I'm going to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 30 pounds or 50 pounds, whatever the amount is. And they alter their behavior until the point of reaching their goal. And then they revert back to all of the old behaviors, okay, that got them to gain all the weight. So instead of having, their brain focusing on the behaviors and the way to be for losing weight, why not say, nope, let me make a lifestyle change that will empower me. It'll make me feel better for the rest of my life instead of for a week or 2 or 3 weeks.
And so what you're basically doing, and you're kind of getting cohesion between what the body wants, which is to be, or brain, the subconscious brain wants. It wants to be healthy. It wants to have adequate energy. It doesn't want the knees to hurt when you're walking up and down the stairs. And losing weight, as it will, we would think about that logically. This is the words we use, is doing that. But you're using the term release, which is a very different thing than losing.
And the other thing that we need to understand is, water is weight. Muscle is weight. We don't want to lose weight. You could lose 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds of water and weight in a week, but you're going to gain it all back. You can have one dish of pasta or rice and it retains 2.5 times its own weight in water and gain it all back. So what we want to do is we want to activate fat release so that we use our fat stores as energy. And that's really what we want to do. We want to create an environment within us so that the food that we're eating gives us energy, and what it is that we're doing for basic survival needs, but then through hopefully a little bit of exercise, we are using fat as fuel for the energy requirements that we need. And we create initially a slight imbalance between how much we're consuming and how much we're using. And in doing it slowly instead of fast, and really focusing on fat release and sustainable weight release or weight loss, if that's what we want to call it, now we're looking at a totally different game, and we're not looking at going on a diet, which is really detrimental to a lot of people's heads and hearts, because they suffer these or they gain these high wins and then they suffer these lows by gaining all the weight back, which happens for 7% of people.
This episode of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is sponsored by Vault Health. Guys, we need to discuss the elephant in the room. Most of us really struggle to manage certain health issues, especially when it affects things we don't want to talk about, like our libido and vitality. Yes, I'm talking about low T. Did you know that 40% of men over 40 suffer from low T? Low T can cause weight gain, loss of muscle mass, ED, fatigue and poor sleep, low energy, and depression. These can completely dismantle any efforts you're making to be healthy and fit. If you're dealing with one or more of these, it's worth booking a free online consultation with a Vault physician at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/Vault. Vault is all about discretion. After your free consultation and you agree you want treatment, they'll send a phlebotomist to your home to do a blood draw. You'll get a personalized, doctor-reviewed treatment plan. This can be with pills, cream, or injections. The medications are mailed to your home. There's nothing macho about neglecting your health. If you live in the United States and you're struggling, it's worth learning more at Vault Health. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/Vault today. That's 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/Vault. Now, when you're talking about exercises, Innercises, excuse me. One of the things that you brought up there was there's lots and lots of different ways to innercise, much like with exercise. So I could decide to go ahead and do an aerobics class, or I can go lift weights, or I can go for a run, or I can go skiing, or I can go hiking. There's so many different ways that I could exercise to affect different things: balance, mobility, strength, endurance. It's much the same way with Innercise. But there's about 7 key areas that you identified in the book that we can innercise to benefit ourselves. Can you talk about those?
Sure. So let's just take the self-image side, of our brain. Everybody knows that they have a self-image of themselves. And so if I was to ask you to draw yourself out, or to write down what you feel you look like, would that either visual or written description match the way you want to look? And for most people, who are maybe overweight, no, there's a mismatch. What if I said that if you, for example, went to some magazines where they had people with your type of physique that you want to have, that was realistic, what if you cut out a picture of a physique that you wanted, and you took your own face and you put it on top of that picture? And what if every day you looked at that picture and you started to see yourself moving towards that over a period of time? Whether it's 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, you said, this is the body, that I'm going to have. This is the body that's giving me energy. This is the body, and physique that's going to make me feel the way I want to and look the way I want to. What if you started to just visualize that every day? What if you started to emotionalize what would it feel like to actually be in that body? What would happen is you would start to develop a new self-image that would override your old self-image. It's almost like recoding software on a computer. Your self-image is nothing more than cells in your brain of recognition of what you have seen in the mirror 10,000 times and what you have thought about 100,000 times. And so when we start to use, for example, visualization is simulation. When we start to simulate in our mind's eye a new body, the new energy, how we will feel, the compliments we might get, the things we might start saying to ourselves about ourselves, we start to rewrite our own hidden self-image and overlay a new self-image around that. And when we start using Innercises, whether it's verbal Innercises or emotional Innercises or mental Innercises, to activate cells in our brain and then reinforce those cells and patterns in our brain, we know that whatever we do consciously, repetitively over time, becomes an unconscious pattern. And so we can use a variety of different Innercises to rescript, reshape, re-imprint what it is that we want instead of what is.
Yeah. So, the way I kind of look at it is, and you said something really important there I want to go back to, is realistic. Don't sit there, and I can't pull out, say Arnold Schwarzenegger and put my face on his body and say, when he was at his prime, and say that's what I'm going to look like in a year or two. That's not realistic. But if I do find a body style, and I think that's going to fit me, and I begin to think of myself in those terms, that's going to affect my subconscious, which is going to then affect my behavior, and
Absolutely.
make me start doing the things that are necessary to have that body type.
Absolutely. There's a visual that I like to share with everybody just to show them how this can work. I'm going to ask everybody who's listening right now a question. And the question is this: can you slowly jog a marathon right now? And I work out almost every day, and I cannot right now. Like, I'm not in shape to jog a marathon, 26.2 miles. Now, here's the second question for everybody who's listening. As if we agreed today that a year from now, or 18 months from now, or even 2 years from now, we're going to jog slowly and in a healthy way, a marathon, 26.2 miles. And today, all we did is we got from a seated position and stood up and then sat back down. That's all we did today, maybe 5 times during the day. And then tomorrow we did it 5 times, and the next day we did it 5 times. And we figured out what would be a really good eating plan, for energy. What would be a good little movement plan for flexibility and some balance? Could we maybe in a week, if we were sedentary for the last 5 years, okay, could we maybe walk in our apartment from the sofa to the kitchen? And the answer is probably yes. And then once we did that 5 or 10 times, could we walk outside maybe, a tenth of a mile slowly? And then could we walk 2/10 of a mile? Then could we walk 5/10 of a mile? Then could we walk 1 mile if we did it in a healthy way? The answer for almost every single person is, if I started off that slow, yes, I could do it. Well, let's take it out 3 months. All right, could we get faster, stronger, better in 3 months and build a foundation? Yes. Well, what about 3 months later? What if we hired a professional to help us, get in better shape? And then we started to slowly, once we released the weight, once we felt more comfortable, we started having more energy. Maybe at a certain point, we'd be able to do a slight, very easy jog. Could we do it? The answer is, of course we could. Well, then guess what? If we could do that, could we build up the muscle and the endurance as we got stronger, as we released the weight? Could we possibly, in a year or a year and a half or 2 years, slowly jog a marathon? And the answer is yes. And how do we know that? We know that because millions and millions and millions of people start off just that way. So even though we may not see the end outcome right now, and even though we may not have the knowledge or the skills or even the resources to do it, could we gain the mental and the emotional and the physical fortitude to be able to do it if we committed to it? And the answer is yes. We have all the knowledge, the skills of how to do it right now.
Yeah. You've just described how I trained for a Tough Mudder. I was in no shape
There
to
you
even
go.
consider doing a Tough Mudder. I could do a 5K obstacle course. I couldn't do a 13-mile one. And so I was watching the videos of the people that were completing it. They were doing it. And I was like, okay, that guy has grip strength. That's how he's able to do what he's doing. That person's stronger. That person isn't carrying as much body fat. And so the visuals I had in my head was a person that's doing that. That's not me today, but that will be me the day that I do that race. And I committed by signing up for it. I wrote my check, gave my credit card number, got the ticket for my daughter and I. And so the commitment was there. And what that meant was each day it was, okay, I've got to get my grip strength a little stronger. Well, if it's just hanging from a pole, a pull-up bar, that's how I'm going to start getting my grip stronger. And then I was doing pull-ups, and then I was doing, so it's just a progressive thing over time. And it's those little bitty things. Like if you put a penny in a jar every day, and then after 2 weeks, double it and put 2 pennies. And after 2 weeks, double it and put 4 pennies. Oh, after a while, you realize you basically have your retirement taken care of. It's that kind of building that you get out of all of this.
Yeah, and whenever we're looking to to change from one habit to another, from a destructive to constructive, from disempowering to empowering, there's something that I teach all my students, and that is reduce it to the ridiculous. So reduce whatever it is that you need to do or want to do to the ridiculously small, right? And so 1 minute a day, 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, for 100 straight days builds the habit. Once we have the habit, we can build the intensity and the duration. And so instead of trying to, do everything in the first week, or 2 weeks, why not focus on, I'm going to develop empowering, constructive habits that I'm going to stick to instead of something that's not sustainable. And so when we're thinking about our brain, right, let's understand how it works. And our brain resists big changes. Our brain resists anything that takes a lot of time and energy. And so when we want to develop a habit of this is what I would like and I'd like to sustain it, let's reduce it to the ridiculously small so that I can develop the habit, and then I can add layers afterwards.
Now, one of the things you went into the book, and I think it's really important, is that if you don't set a goal the right way, your likelihood of accomplishing that goal goes way down. But you talked about a function, something called brain-friendly goals. Could you go into that briefly?
Sure. So it actually piggybacks on what I just said. There's different parts of our brain. If you think of your brain almost like an orchestra or a band, there's different musicians that play different instruments. Well, there's different parts of our brain that does different things. And when we can get our brains, different parts to work together in synchronicity and harmony, it works a lot better. So for example, there's a part of our brain, I call it the Einstein part of the brain, that's really good for imagination, what I would like, what it would feel like and be like, and how can I achieve it? Right? There's another part of our brain, which I call the Frankenstein part of the brain, that analyzes, well, what can go wrong here? What if you start and you don't continue? What if you get hurt? What if you embarrass yourself? Or what if you're ashamed or ridiculed or judged because you give it your best and you fail? So our brain, in order to make brain-friendly goals, works like this. What do you want to achieve? Write that down. Why is it really important for you to achieve it? Write that down. How can you get started? Okay, write that down. When are you going to do it? Put it on your calendar. What are the tools or resources or people that you need in order to help you? Get that all together. That's a brain-friendly goal, because now I have the what, the why, the how, the who, and the when. And now our brain goes, okay, are you committed to doing this, or are you interested? And this is the question of all questions, right? Because when somebody sets, here's what I want, I always ask them, well, are you committed to that, or are you interested? And many people have said to me, what's the difference? I tell them, well, if you're interested, you're going to come up with stories or reasons or excuses why you can't or why you won't. If you're interested, when it's time to do it, you're going to come up with a story, reason, or excuse. But if you're committed, you'll overcome the story, the reason, or the excuse. If you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes. If you're committed, okay, you will override the I don't feel like it muscle.
I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Well, number one is, what does it mean for you to be well, right? How are you thinking? How are you feeling? What are you doing? Whose life or whose life is impacted other than just yours? And so whenever we're thinking about, wellness and well-being, define it for yourself. Define it for yourself. For me, a lot of people tell me, how do you define success? For me, success is harmony between health, wealth, relationships, career, business, fun, experiences, charity, spirituality. For me, it's that harmony. That's success. It doesn't make sense for me to have so much health but not wealth, so much wealth but not health. So for me, it's that harmony, so that I could feel like my life is in flow.
Okay, thank you, John. If someone wanted to learn more about you, learn more about the book, Innercise, the new science to unlock your brain's hidden power, and all the wonderful things you're doing over there with your company, where would you like for me to send them?
Thank you. I think they can hop onto Amazon to take a look at my book, Innercise, or my other book, Having It All, which is also New York Times bestseller. They can, if they want to go deeper into the brain around making more money and achieving financial success, they can go to Brain-a-Thon123.com. Brain-a-Thon123.com. And then I'm on Instagram. I'm on my Facebook fan page. I'm on Twitter. And then obviously our websites at johnassaraf.com or myneurogym.com, which is my company.
Yeah. I did the Brain-a-Thon this weekend. I made it about 3/4 through, and man, it's just a lot. But it was wonderful. And then I just joined your Exceptional Life program. So really
Awesome.
excited. I'm seeing a lot of you lately.
Good.
Yeah, so really cool stuff. Thank you so much for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this.
Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Dr. Paul Saladino and discuss his book, The Carnivore Code. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.